Se'atahu Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu, Ve'imotenu. Modim anachnu lach, Se'atahu Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu, Ve'imotenu. Modim anachnu lach, Se'atahu Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu, Ve'imotenu. Le'olam va'ed, Le'olam va'ed. Le'olam va'ed, Le'olam va'ed. Modim anachnu lach, Se'atahu Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu, Ve'imotenu. Modim anachnu lach, Se'atahu Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu, Ve'imotenu. Thankful for our lives, thankful for our souls, thankful for the miracles, wondrous to behold. Thankful for the morning, thankful for the afternoon.
All right. Well, Shabbat Shalom, everybody, out there in Cyberland and in here in the sanctuary. Glad to have you. We have a small but mighty crowd, and it's fun to be back in the sanctuary at the exact time of year when normally people don't show up to synagogue. But it lets us ease our way in after a couple of weeks of nice crowds here. So we know we have folks joining us online. Shabbat Shalom to you, to our congregation gathered here. Shabbat Shalom to you all. And let's join together in singing Hine Ma Tovu Manayim, how good it is that we are together.
Hine ma tovu manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tovu manayim, shevet achim gam yachad.
Sing with us, Hine Ma Tov.
Hine ma tovu manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. 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 Tovu manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tovu manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Shevet achim gam yachad.
Why don't we keep singing our way through the beginning of our service here? You can find a Sa'enai right here on the screen in front of you or right below Mark if you're watching online.
Is it this right here, like this?
Yes.
Is everyone getting it?
Underneath your podium, yes. Oh, yeah, there you go.
Okay.
There you go.
How did that come out?
One,
All right. Esa Einai El Hecharim Esa Einai El Hecharim Me'ayin Yavo Yavo Ezri Me'ayin Yavo Yavo Ezri Me'ayin Yavo Yavo Ezri Me'ayin Yavo Yavo Ezri. Where will my help come from? Where will my help come from? My help will come from God, maker of heaven and earth. My help will come from God, maker of heaven and earth. Esa Einai El Hecharim Esa Einai El Hecharim Esa Einai El Hecharim Esa Einai El Hecharim.
Well, Shabbat Shalom, and Shabbat Shalom to everyone who is Shabbat Shaloming online, Karen and Brooks and Abby and Pam and Ira and Laura and Oliver and John and Jeremy. Nice to see you, everyone who is joining us virtually and in our congregation. I saw some more people walking in back there, so we'll have a few more folks joining us, but we have a very solid congregation here. And we're going to light our Shabbat candles. You can find that on page 2 in your prayer book. And Lori Rossio, could we have you light? All you have to do is light the candles. We'll all do the blessing together. Are you up for that? Lori, who sacrifices her husband on many weekends during the year, is going to do the honor of lighting the candles for us. Thank you. We got matches. We got a lighter. I don't know which you prefer. All right. Accompanied by the marvelous man toy. Okay. Yes. Oh, man. Hey, Mark, why don't you step back just a little bit so they can see you? And we'll join together in singing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you. Let's read together here on page 3, if you have a book, or on page 3. O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and into our lives. Together we say, Amen. We're going to join together in singing L'Chadodi as we welcome Shabbat, as perhaps we can let go of some of the pain and some of the stress that perhaps accumulated upon our shoulders in this past week. We have this opportunity to take a deep breath and to welcome in Shabbat. And we'll be doing that together. You can find L'Chadodi on page 20, and when we get to the middle of the song, we'll take some time for some deep breaths and some meditation, some reflection, and we'll go from there.
L'Chadodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat Nikabla, Nikabla, Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nikabla, Nikabla. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom Umevorah. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom Umevorah.
Let's take a moment just to take a deep breath.
Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom Umevorah. One more time. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom Umevorah.
Let's read together either on page 20 or on here on the screens. Teach me, O God, a blessing, a prayer on the mystery of a withered leaf, on ripened fruit so fair, on the freedom to see, to sense, to breathe, to know, to hope, to despair. Teach my lips a blessing, a hymn of praise, as you renew my day, as each morning and night you renew your days, lest my day be today as the one before, lest routine set my ways. We're going to continue with the Baruch Hu here on page 28, and if you are able to rise and you'd like to, you can do that, and if it's more comfortable to stay seated, that's okay also. Let's join together in singing.
Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Ba'ed, Le'olam Ba'ed. Yadonai, 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 Yadonai,
Let's join together in reading on page 30. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chochma poteach she'arim, u'bidvuna mishane itim, u'machalif et hazmanim, u'misader et hakochavim, b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono. Let's read together in English. You are the creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night, distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzvaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on the evening. Baruch atah Adonai ha'ma'ariv aravim. And we say to that, Amen. We're going to continue in singing Shema, which you can find right there on the page 34 or in the slides.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod, Shem Kevod, Malchuto Leolam, Leolam Vaed.
You may be seated. I forgot we're chanting this. We're on page 36. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavecha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'elech asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shiftecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha u'kshartam le'o al yadecha v'hayu latotafot bein einecha u'chtavtam hamezuzot beitecha uv'hisharecha leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai V'yitem kedoshim le'Eloheihem Ani Adonai Elohechem Asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim Liot lahem le'Elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem. Emet. We're going to turn in just a moment to the Micha Mocha, this prayer of thanksgiving and gratitude, the prayer that the Israelites sang as part of the Song of the Sea when they crossed the sea, realized that they were free, and from that point on, it was smooth sailing for the Jewish people. Wait, maybe not so much, but at least we were freed from slavery, and we celebrate that moment. So I ask if anybody has something that you're thankful for here in the congregation or for folks who are online. Anybody have something that you are thankful for that you'd like to share with the group? Yeah, Gino, you want to say it loudly?
I wanted to thank everybody who sent me a sympathy card on Honey Mitchell.
Thank you. Thanks for saying. And if anyone online didn't hear what Gino said, he wanted to thank everyone for sending a sympathy card and for reaching out after the loss of his beloved brother Mitch. And thanks for that, Gino. Anybody else have something that they are thankful for? Yeah, Lori. All right, celebrating Shabbat in Boston. All right, maybe you guys will join them out there soon.
On Zoom.
Yeah, oh, Zoom. Yeah, that's fair. Zoom will work. Anybody else have anything else they want to share? Yeah, Missy. So Rachel, for just folks who you can't hear and see it online, that Rachel is saying thank you to everyone for the support that they've given her, and that support will continue for a long time, Rachel, because there's a lot of us who love you guys and are sending a lot of prayers your way. That is for sure, for healing and wholeness. Anybody else? And let me see. Pam is saying that she is celebrating that Laura is there with her family. They're in Bexley, I'm assuming, so that's terrific. And Nana is giving some Jewish stars and some hearts. And Connie Cash, we are thinking about you and sending some love your way as well. So let's join together in this kind of celebratory prayer that we have, Micha Mocha, saying, who is like you, God, that enables us to have the good fortune of goodness in our lives.
Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh. Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh. Norat ha'ilo osef eleh, norat ha'ilo osef eleh. Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed. Ya la la, ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la.
We're going to turn to the Amidah together. That begins on page 46. And we'll invite you, if you're able, to please rise. And if you're more comfortable seated, that's okay also. Page 46, we'll join together. Adonai sifatai tiftachu fi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu. Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Hastei Avot v'Imahot, Umevi Gula Livnei V'neihem, L'ma'an Shemo B'Yahava, Melech Ozer Moshiach Umagen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah, Ahata Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh hakol ata Rav le'Hoshia, Mechalkel Chaim b'Chesed, Mechayeh hakol b'Rachamim Rabim, Sohomech noflim ve'rofech olim, Umatir asurim, umekayem emunato, lishenei afar, michamocha ba'givurot, umido melach, melech memit umechaye, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman atal hachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol. We're on page 52. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kedoshim b'chol yom yehalalu chasela. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. Amen. We're going to take a few moments for some silent prayer and some meditation, and I'll invite you, if you'd like, to be seated, and we'll then join together in singing Oseh Shalom after that.
Oseh Shalom, Shalom bimromav, Uyaseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al kol Yisrael, Ve'imru Amen. Oseh Shalom, Shalom bimromav, uyase shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Uyase shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael amen. Oh, say shalom, shalom bimromav, uyase shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Ve'al kol Yisrael amen.
Shabbat Shalom, you may be seated. A few years ago, Rabbi Lynette and I made a conscious decision with our incoming bar bat mitzvah students. When a child becomes bar bat mitzvah, he or she spends a lot of time preparing for the service, learning prayers, learning Torah, writing a Devar Torah speech, practicing looking up at the congregation while they're giving their remarks and leading the service. A few years ago, we realized that many of our students were missing a really important part of this bar bat mitzvah process, of this journey towards adulthood. We realized that one of the big parts of becoming an adult, or starting to become an adult, at least in the Jewish community, is having this idea that we have the responsibility to the world and to make it a better place. So while our students still work hard on their services, many of them also work really hard on doing some sort of mitzvah project, putting the mitzvah back in bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah, or just mitzvah. The project can be basically anything for these kids, anything that makes a difference for any person or animal in the world. It's really about as broad as you can get. Any project that helps anyone gets a green light for our kids, and we ask them to do 20 or 30 hours over the course of their preparations for during that time. Before the pandemic, we were seeing a lot of really cool mitzvah projects, and even in the short time since we've been back together, we've seen a couple of these that really are good at impacting the broader community. Some of our kids have worked as assistant coaches, sharing their love of a sport with a younger child. Some kids raise money and awareness for causes that are close to their hearts. Some of the bar bat mitzvah kids and families also did some direct service helping. One family in particular spent a number of Sundays preparing and then serving a free lunch to people who are in need in our community at a church close by here in Gehanna called Peace Lutheran Church. This free lunch program is not just for members of the church, rather it's for anyone in need in the community. Before the pandemic, we had our 7th and 8th grade classes visit there as well. I accompanied our students on one of these trips and was surprised at the sheer number of people that Peace Lutheran serves every Sunday. The church is not even 10 minutes away from here and serves people who, for the most part, live pretty close by. Folks who are in need are our neighbors and our friends. Our kids go to the same schools. They reside in this very congregation. We are one community. Anyway, I recently spoke to one of our bat mitzvah students, this one who is serving at lunch at Peace Lutheran Church. She and her family told me that the experience overall was really meaningful, even though she was a vegetarian and was kind of grossed out by some of the meat stuff. But regardless, it was a really meaningful experience. They liked putting the lunches together, and this girl mentioned that she was even able to create a little conversation with people who she was serving. And she said one thing that really stuck with me, though, and she said that it was an eye-opening experience. She said basically that she didn't know that there are so many people in need right here in our community. I think that's fair because so often in our day-to-day lives, we kind of develop these blinders, this tunnel vision. How many of us have exited from 270 or 670 and tried our best not to make eye contact with a guy asking for money at the stoplight, or the woman holding a sign saying she's hungry, or we go downtown or in the short north and look past the people who are begging on the sidewalks, or we're maybe turning into Easton and ignore the person standing in the median asking for money, for help. Maybe even one of our friends or loved ones is in need, unable to make ends meet these days, and we don't notice. Maybe it's too hard for us to comprehend, too difficult to deal with, so we turn on our blinders as if we don't see. It's not there. That's how we feel. For this girl and her family, serving food to those in need forced the blinders off, enable them to see that there are a lot of people who are hurting. Even though I know we're making a recovery and things are better than they were, there are still a lot of people who are in trouble and need help. This week's Torah portion reminds us that we need to see clearly. If not with our eyes, then we need to see with our hearts. There's a great summer Torah portion that we read this week called Balak, one of my favorites. There's a bunch of really fun ones in a row here. And if you're unfamiliar with this story, let me give you the abbreviated version. There's a king of Moab named Balak who gets nervous because he notices that the Israelite people were becoming too numerous. His solution was to call a soothsayer named Balaam to come and curse the Israelites. Today, a blessing or curse may be thrown around loosely, maybe even on this bima, but in those days, a curse was taken very seriously and could have grave implications, especially if it was a curse coming from someone like Balaam, who was a soothsayer. He was considered to have great powers. Those whom he blessed were blessed, those whom he cursed were cursed, and our sages teach us that Balaam was the greatest prophet and an outstanding stage of the Gentile nations of his day. He was exalted for his power and brilliance. So when the king asked the wise Balaam to curse the Israelites, he meant business. And when Balaam agrees, we may be asking ourselves, if he is so wise, shouldn't he have known better than to curse the Israelites? Nevertheless, Balaam agrees and sets off on his female donkey to find the Israelite encampment. They're traveling, and God sends an angel to appear on the path to impede Balaam's journey so this thing couldn't stop. The angel was literally right in front of the donkey. Well, the donkey sees the angel, and it stops in its tracks, not wanting to pass the angel, of which she is scared. But Balaam does not see the angel and begins beating the donkey, commanding her to move forward. The angel then moves further down the road, and again the angel blocks their path, and the donkey resists and tries to move away from the road, and Balaam beats her again. The third time the donkey stopped in its path, Balaam becomes enraged. You would think that perhaps this would be a sign that maybe he should turn around and go back, but no, he wants to continue on. He wants maybe to get paid for the job, so he beats the donkey yet again. At this point in the story, we have one of the most bizarre and interesting parts of the story, and that's when the donkey looks back to Balaam and starts talking to him. She says, "What have I done to you that you have beaten me these 3 times? Am I not the donkey who served you so faithfully for all these years? Lay off me already." Balaam then realizes that the donkey is right. Just then, God uncovers Balaam's eyes, and he sees the angel of God standing in front of him. He promises the angel that he will only say what the angel tells him to say. And when he makes it to the Israelites, 3 times over, he utters a beautiful blessing rather than a curse. He says, "Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov mishkenotecha Yisrael." How great are your tents, Jacob, Israel, your dwelling places, O Israelites. This story has a happy ending, but the question remains that why would someone like Balaam go to curse the Israelites and not even stop when his donkey won't proceed? Why would someone so in tune with the spiritual world not see an angel of God right in front of him? What was he missing? According to the rabbinical commentators, Balaam was blind in one eye. Why would this matter? It seems as our sages are telling us more than Balaam could physically see. As one rabbi says, they are telling us not simply about his sight, but about his insight. How could such a brilliant man have his heart so set on destroying the Jewish people? If he was so smart, how could he be so foolish? When Balaam oversaw the life of the other nations and made predictions about their fate, he looked with his seeing eye. But perhaps when he looked at the life of the Israelites and looked at their future, he used his blind eye. He saw the rest of the world clearly, but when it came to the Israelites, to the Jews, he had a blind spot. His eye was covered. It wasn't until God helped Bilam uncover that eye that he was able to see the Israelites clearly while looking over the encampment, and he declared, "How great are these tents! How beautiful is this people!" It's a message we should all hear, perhaps over and over again. It is easy to close our eyes to the world around us. It is easy to live our day-to-day existence without really seeing the suffering that surrounds us just on our front porch, poverty and hunger and injustice. We are often tempted, like Balaam, to ignore our peripheral vision, seeing only what the next task is and turning a blind eye to those around us. But that blindness towards others can also prohibit us from seeing the common humanity that we share. In a time in our country and even in our community when everyone is so politically polarized, when we are more likely than ever to be blind to people on the other side of the aisle, so often political conversations, we're too busy thinking about our rebuttal to really hear and understand and internalize another viewpoint. Either that or because we know somebody tends to be liberal or conservative, we stop listening before the conversation even begins because we know that we'll disagree. We're blind to the humanity of one another because we are so divided. But it doesn't have to be this way. All it takes is one conversation at a time. Like God did for Bilam, we can uncover our eyes. We can see that though we may disagree with one another, that we share the same values. We can see that there is goodness in each of us, that there is humanity behind our eyes, and that we can open our eyes to those who are also reaching out for help and no longer turn a blind eye. When Balaam finally opens his eyes, he sees the Israelite people encamped before him. He saw them treating each other with kindness and love and care, according to one of the commentaries. He even noted that the Israelites were modest, arranging their tents so that they wouldn't face each other, so they could treat each other well. Throughout the entire story until now, Balaam is bent on cursing the Israelites. But once God helps him see, he utters this most beautiful blessing. "How fair are your tents, O Jacob, your dwelling places, Israel. Like palm groves that stretch out, like gardens beside a river, like aloes planted by the eternal God, like cedars beside the water, their kingdom shall be exalted," is how the blessing goes. May we too have the courage and the vision in our communities to bless those who disagree with us rather than curse them. May we be able to see folks who would need our help and give them our blessings as well. Our broken world is full of curses, but we can help fill it with blessings. We can see the good in one another. It's not just a nice thing to do, it is our actual responsibility as Jews. We have a blessing in our morning service that says, "Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam pokeach ivrim." Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, who helps open our eyes. May our eyes be opened and our hearts be open so that we can truly see the world around us. Together we say to that, amen. One of the ways that we can open our eyes is to those folks who are in need of healing. We know that there are many of them in our community. I'm going to read a list here, and then if you have any names you'd like to add to our list of healing, I'll invite you to say those names afterward. And you who are online, if you want to type the names in the chat, I will take a look here. This Shabbat at Temple Beth Shalom, we are thanking for a healing of refuah shlema, healing of body and spirit, for Catherine Adler, Marcia Ames, Marilyn Altman, Lynn Adams, Sarah Bates, Deborah Belford, Barbara Belford, Libby Blakely, Marjorie Block, Paul Branson, Joan Bray, Florence Bricker, Lee Buden, Dave Sidarquist, Dorothy Cohn, Rob Cohn, Lily Kovitz, Adrian Crawford, Rick Crawford, Taya Delano, Tony Diegler, Carrie Ebert, Elaine Ehrlich, and Don Feibel. We're thinking of Michael Fiorelli and Rachel Fish, Philip Garber, Olivia Glick, Jean Goldberg. We're thinking of Rachel Goldblatt, Bernice Goldstein, Jimmy Green, David Haas, David Hirsch, Don Kerr, Jeanette Clayman, Aidan Kramer, Peter Levy. We're thinking of Barb Lucas, Angel Marrero, Fred Martin, Minna Melton, Paul Mickelson, Connie Minorovic. Thinking of Dick Nettleman, Robert Oakley, Nick Parisi, Aaron Phelan, Ian Phillips, Rashi Prostowski, Jessica Rathkoff, Isabel Resendez, William J. Reese, Barry Richmond, Zachary Rowe, Arthur Rose, Irving Rose, June Sahara, Ralph Sauer, Sandy Schaefer. We're thinking of Barbara Schuster, Richard Schur, Lou Supowitz, Lauren Tate, and Robert Weiss. I ask if there are other names of folks who we are thinking of for healing. I see Sandra Schaefer we mentioned, but we'll mention her again. Teresa Allen Scott, Jamie Cash. And I'm looking to see if there are any other names of folks who we are remembering for healing this evening. On their behalf and on behalf of all of those who have known to recite this Misha Berach prayer for their healing, we are a community together supporting everyone. We're remembering also for healing Curtis Scott and Leonard Corner. And if there are other names, you can put them in the chat here, and we'll join together in singing Misha Berach right here on the slide on the screen or on page 253 in your books or on the screens.
Misha Berach Avotenu Mikor HaBrecha Leimotenu, be the source of strength, who bless the ones before us. Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishe Berach Imotenu Mikor HaBrecha Ne'avotenu, bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. And let us say Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Rofeh HaCholim, blessed are you, God, who helps send strength and healing and love and comfort to all those who need it. And together we say, Amen. Let's join together in singing Bayom Hahu. This is one of our concluding prayers. You can find it on page 287 or right here on the slides.
Bayom Hahu Yehieh Adonai Echad, Bayom Hahu Yehieh U'Shemo Echad, V'ne'emar, as it is written, V'ne'emar, let it be said, God rules the earth. On that day God shall be one. V'haya Adonai Melech HaKol Haaretz, on that day God's name shall be one. Bayom Hahu Yehieh Adonai Echad, Bayom Hahu Yehieh U'Shemo Echad, U'Shemo Echad.
We're on page 288. When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking in the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not in your mind. You can love me best by letting hands touch hands, by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die. People do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. On this Shabbat at Temple Beth Shalom, we are thinking of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us. In the last 30 days, we are recalling the yard sites of Mark Anderson, Charles Kaminsky, and Diane Axel, all of whom have recently been taken from our midst. We are still, of course, thinking of Mitch Schifrin as well, and sending Kaddish prayers to his soul as well. We remember those who died of this season in years past, and we take them into our hearts with our own. On this Shabbat, we are remembering Florence Abramson, Louis Apotheker, Oscar Bain, Fred Berg, Carl Blotner, Alvin Burek, Marilyn Cantor, Manny Ellman, Arthur Hirsch, Hal Johnson, Sylvia Kaufman, Jacqueline Robbins, Sandra Rossio, Sigmund Strauss, Stanley Wasserstrom, and Blanche Weiler. We are also adding the name Amy Mason. We are thinking of her lovingly as well. On behalf of all of those and those who we have named in our hearts, I ask anybody else have a name to add to our Kaddish list? Then if you are able to please rise, I ask you to please do that. We're on page 294 for our Kaddish prayer, page 294. Yikadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'vyamechon, u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'lamei almaya. Yiparach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yidramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudashah b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'miran v'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to all the world. And together we say, Amen. You may be seated. And some announcements as we prepare to depart. There's a 20s and 30s program tomorrow night where a bunch of people, I believe, are going to Pins at Easton. I am too old for that, but I believe Rabbi Lynette and Bobby will be there. And if you are interested at all in doing that, let me know and I will connect you with the rabbi before tomorrow. And tomorrow morning, I should say, we have services outside at the creek. It's looking like the weather is supposed to cooperate. So we'll be down at the creek tomorrow at 10 a.m. for an hour-long service. We'll read the story of Balaam and talk about all the weirdness therein. And that should have from 10 to 11 tomorrow. And then we're back here in the sanctuary next Friday night is First Friday, and we assume that it'll be an intimate crowd also, but maybe you'll join us, and that'll be really nice. Any other announcements, anything that I missed from folks here? All right, our closing song. Why don't we do Kiddush Motzi, and then we'll do our closing song at the end, kind of Shabbat Chai style. And I think, did Hanif replace us with new Manischewitz? I think he did.
Not yet.
I think he did. This looks like a new bottle here. We'll see. We'll find out. All right, let's join together.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu.
V'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron v'maaseh bereshit ki hu yom tehila l'mikra'e kodesh zecher litziat Mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta v'otanu kidashta מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך, באהבה וברצון, הנחלתנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש השבת. Amen. We'll see here. Okay. I mean, it's still Manischewitz, but at least it's not 2 years old. I think that's the new one.
Can you tell the difference?
Actually, no, I take it back.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I thought for a moment it was better, but then the actual taste set in. Let's join together. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is sung. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Amen.
I'm going to leave this up here, but if you want to come and rip a piece off later on, you can do that. And we have a special version of Ojavo. And
Yeah, it's kind of came out of a jam session. Dan Nichols and several people were playing, and they just started playing this, and then Dan had put words, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Salam. So it's about peace. It's just a wonderful, wonderful version. Hey oh, hey oh, hey oh, hey hey oh, hey oh, hey oh, oh, oh. Hey oh, hey oh, hey oh, hey hey oh, hey oh, hey oh, oh, oh. Sing with me, hey oh, hey oh, hey oh, hey oh, hey hey oh, hey oh, hey oh, oh, oh. One more time, hey oh, hey oh, hey oh, hey hey oh, hey oh. Hey oh 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 oh. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Ve'akulam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Ve'akulam. Salam Aleinu. Salam, 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 aleinu ve'akol ha'olam. Salam, salam. Hey oh, hey oh, hey oh, hey hey oh, hey oh, hey oh, oh, oh. Hey oh, hey oh. Hey oh, hey, hey oh, hey oh, hey oh, 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 oh.
Thanks, Mark, as always. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shalom.
May this be a Shabbat of peace and joy and togetherness and holiness and rest. And together we say to that, Amen. Shabbat
Amen.
Shalom, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. Hey, all right.
Oh, you were key there.
Yeah, hey. Not even knowing it. This is my Jewish programming. I can always do, whenever you say a Shabbat Shalom, it's followed by a hey.
Yeah.